All right, I think we're ready to get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Fiona, and I'm the Marketing Director for the Student Alliance for Prison Reform, or SAPR. We are Northeastern's only prison reform club, and we do a lot of crazy stuff. We do a lot of activism, panels, and speaker events like the one you're at right now. So make sure to check us out on social media at SAPRNU. And come to our meetings. We meet Mondays from 8 to 9 p.m. in 204 Hastings. I'm so excited to introduce tonight's speaker. He's a former jewel thief and was incarcerated for 11 years, and now is an author, speaker, educator, and activist. Larry Lawton, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Fiona.
Yeah, of course. So we'd all love to hear, how did you get involved in crime?
Well, obviously, I was a young kid in New York City. To give a little bit of background, maybe, I grew up in the Bronx in Brooklyn, New York, and I got involved in organized crime at a very young age. My dad used to actually, back when they were building the World Trade Center. Now, obviously, it's a long time ago, from 1968 to 72 is when they built it. I was born in 61. I was a young kid in the early 70s, and I used to follow my dad, go with him, and they'd pay off mobsters. That's how they ran the unions. That's how I ran things. I got hooked up in that lifestyle. I saw the power, saw the control, I saw the money, saw the flash. We didn't grow up with money or anything ourselves. That's all in my book, obviously, Gangster Redemption. And then, I got better and better. I got recognized by different mob families. I ended up going to the Coast Guard to try to get away from that life. It follows you, if you want to call it that. So I ended up going. I did almost 8 years in the Coast Guard. I got retired medically. I fell on a ship and got crushed my spine, actually. And then I got out right back into that business. And I was a muscle for a card game. I was a bouncer, and then I was a bookmaker, and I learned from the biggest people. And then I even got into the robbing of jewelry stores. I ended up robbing 15 to 18 million. I always say I'm not proud of it. I am still known as the biggest jewel robber in the United States. That's where I go on TV, whether it's with Kim Kardashian get robbed or people. And also, but besides that, after I did my time, I got 4 12-year sentences, and I ended up getting enough credits to have a law degree. I am technically a licensed paralegal because I'm a felon. But I also, I'm the only ex-con in the United States who's an honorary police officer, and the only ex-con in the United States who's recognized on the floor of the United States Congress for helping people, helping police agencies, and helping people not get into that kind of lifestyle. My program today that I have is in court systems used all over the world, actually, and people get sentenced to it, actually, which is kind of great in this realm for reform and prison reform, which we need more of. Obviously, we have a broken prison system. So I just wanted to give that little bit of a background of myself so they got an idea of what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Was prison reform always something that you were passionate about or really knew about before you were incarcerated?
Absolutely not. Didn't even care about it, didn't know about it. I knew about prison. Obviously, you're a street kid, you know about who's in there and not. But when I saw young people come into prison, Fiona, and I mean 18, 19, 20 years old, they come into the system, it's over. I mean, they either sucked into gangs. Give you a little story. You get a young kid who's 21 years old. He robs a bank with a note, but they sentence him to 5 years. And here's a kid who had a drug problem, robbed the bank. He gets sent to prison, and they don't help his drug problem one bit. And of course, he's going to do drugs in prison. There's more drugs in prison than there is on the streets. I talk about that at some events, meaning it's easy to get and the access is right there. And so they got this young kid, 21, he gets 5 years. Now he's in prison. He has nobody to go to. He doesn't have money because he was robbing banks just to even support a drug habit. And he gets caught in prison in a urinalysis. And what do? They put him in the hole for 60 days, which is solitary confinement. They take away his phone for 6 months. They take away his commissary for 6 months. And they take away his visits for 6 months. Now this kid still never touched his drug problem. He has nobody. He might have had a person on the outside, maybe a construction owner who said, hey, do your time. I'll help you out when you get out. Now he loses contact with him, has no way of communicating because he lost his phone, he lost his writing, mail, he lost his phone, and he lost his visits. So now all of a sudden this kid is getting into the drugs in prison, and he either gets hooked up with a gang, he's got no money. If he wants drugs, they make him maybe stab someone or have sex with somebody, whatever they're gonna do. And before you know it, if the kid gets out in 5 years or whatever he has to do, because in the feds you have to do 85% of your time, which is a mistake. But here's this guy, if he doesn't have a disease, whether it's HIV, hepatitis, or they don't help him in prison, so he's going to be a problem for society in whatever way it is, and they still never help this problem. So before you know it, he's out there not fearing prison. He knows how to survive now. What does he do? He's gonna either rob or steal or do drugs. And here's the problem I tell people, whether you have pity or even if you care about what a person did, some people say, oh, he's a criminal, he should just be thrown in there. Well, 97.1%, whatever the number is, very close to that, are gonna get out. Do you want somebody living next to you who doesn't have hope, wasn't tried to rehabilitate, and you're his next victim? Or do you want someone who cares, wants to make it, that he's going to try as hard as he can? So now he's a productive member of society, paying rent, going to the gas station, supporting businesses. I want that guy. I don't want the guy who don't give a shit. And before you know it, you have more victims. So even if you don't believe in the rehabilitation because he was a criminal, I don't want more victims. Before you know it, you got more victims. And that's quick number. The United States is the worst country in the world on the prison system. We have more people incarcerated than any other country. We have the worst rehabilitation rate and recidivism rate, highest recidivism rate in the world. And mostly it's because places like Germany and Finland, and I talk to them. I talk to officials there all the time. And what they're doing there is rehabilitating people. Are we here to rehabilitate, or are we here to just incarcerate? Incarcerate's great. You have to have a part of that. And there are people in prison I often talk about don't belong out. They're mental prison. I'll get into that. But those people will kill you or do something. And I know them. I was with them. They're psychopaths. But most people aren't. And now what we're doing is we have a whole society. I'll get into why politicians do things if we get in that area too.
Yeah. I like the figure that you brought up about how, like 97% of people are going to be getting out of prison at some point. I know that when you were in Atlanta, you said that about half the people there were lifers. So how
go ahead. In Atlanta, in United States Penitentiary Atlanta, at the time I was there, it was 97 to 99. It was the worst prison in the United States. They could look it up. Actually, I looked it up. Someone told me, hey, Larry, you're one of the notable prisoners in it. It kind of made me laugh. But when I was in there, we had 880 people with life out of 2,000. 200 fight their case legally. Myself, you get the law, you start doing law, you help people do things. 400 and let's say 40 find a lover, do what they're gonna do, live a life, go to work in the prison industries, whatever. And the other 200 are psychopaths, literally psychopaths. Kill you, stab you, try to escape. That are mayhem people in the prison system. Obviously, it's such a sad system to see when you see people with life in prison for drugs of any kind. I believe in a system where no matter what you did, if it's non-violent, you should get 3 years for your first sentence, period. No good time, 3 years. Non-violent, I'm talking. If you commit an offense after that, you don't get life, you get 7 years. Now, in this point, after that, you'd have been in prison for 10 years. If you commit a crime, again, non-violent, I'm not talking about rapes and murders and stuff. If you commit another crime and they sentence, they give you 10 years. So after you just did 20 years in prison, you most likely aged out of the crime business, believe it or not. They have statistics to show that. And you're not going to be, a member of, and you could go on 10 years again. And again, I'm not talking people or violent. People say, well, they may get violent. Well, your neighbor might get violent when he loses his job. You don't know that. So you can't say, oh, he might. That's, looking on assumptions, and that is, you can't do that.
Yeah. I'm sure that the environment, in a prison where there are a lot of people that are sentenced to life must be so different than, medium security or other places you might have been. So I was wondering if you could touch on that. How does the environment differ?
Well, Actually, in some medium prisons, there's life sentences too. It's just that in the higher securities, is most of the people are violent or capable of violence. A lot of people get this mixed up. Oh, they'd say, especially with the case in Georgia, oh, I'd rather be in the feds than in the state. And that's not true. When you get to a maximum security prison, it's the worst. And you can even look it up online. I think the worst prison in America is a federal prison called ADX Colorado. And it's just crazy. But when you get into the higher security prisons, like in the feds, you got hitmen, you got mega drug dealers, you got people with power. And those people didn't get to be in that power position without not being a violent or capable of violence or stuff of that nature. And there's no connections. The feds don't give a shit who you are, whether it's John Gotti or Pablo Escobar or, El Chapo. They don't give a shit. Now in the state system, obviously, you might know somebody, they grew up with you, money means more, everything else. So, people get it wrong. I'm not talking about people with tax evasion and do 3 months in prison or some shit. I'm talking about maximum security prisons. If you take a maximum security state prison, you take a maximum security federal prison, the number one is, it's always been, and it's the federal prison. I was in Atlanta, we had a murder a month for 18 months. A murder, not counting overdoses, not counting suicides, not counting other suspicious dies, we call them, and some of those we know. One guy hung himself, but how did he hang himself with a hole in his head? The guards did it. I mean, listen, it's in my book, and you know that. I don't hate guards. So it's amazing. It took me a long time. Matter of fact, I've interviewed and had on my channel one of the guards that guarded me, and we talk about it. We talked about it a lot, and he was one of the good guards. I mean, good guards are important, and I don't ever want to disparage any organization. You need them, but you need good people with compassion. It's amazing. When people don't treat people like human beings, what happens? You become what you're treated like. So you treat people like animals, you're going to get animals. And it's sad because some of these people get power hungry and they got the control, the keys, to tell you this, that. Stop people, and then somebody's going to just snap, and that's when the problems happen.
Yeah. Something that you talk a lot about on your YouTube channel is the whole solitary confinement. I was wondering if you can tell us some of the different reasons that you've heard of, both like the stupid, crazy ones and then the actual legitimate ones, why someone might be sent to the hole.
Okay, first, let's call what it is. The hole is actually called, if you look it up, it's called the SHU, or Special Housing Unit. What's special about it? We call it the hole, the box, and it, now, myself, stupid, I don't know if you know this, and it's in the record, you can look online. I go to prison, the hole, for masturbating. I am in my cell, 40 years old, in my bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, alone, reading a pornographic magazine, and I masturbate. Every man does it. Every girl does it. It's natural. In fact, when I sued the federal government for that, I had a doctor talk about how it's healthy for a man to masturbate at least once a week, or to keep a healthy prostate. But I go to the hole for that, for 30 days, for masturbating, something that's natural. I'm not having sex with somebody or whatever. And if you were, who cares? But that's another whole topic. I wasn't doing it what they call on someone. There wasn't a female guard. I wasn't exposing myself or doing something like that. I am in my cell. I ended up suing the prison system for that. It's in the records. They ended up dismissing it, but they changed the policy. And the only reason they dismissed it is because they kept transferring me to make the times go out. But I kept fighting them and I could have won, but they changed the policy. They don't do that anymore. They just don't, they won't, just for masturbating unless it's at someone on. So a whole different policy. So I kind of changed the policy. How stupid is our system to this day, that boggles my mind. Now, obviously, if you curse out a guard, just say something like, go fuck yourself. You go to the hole. Now, in most places now, they're trying to get away with the hole because it's totally inhumane. You're in a cell from an 8-foot by 10-foot cell, 23 hours a day. They say 20, they give you an hour of recreation. Bullshit. I was in a hole for 2 weeks, never had a shower in this. Then they have what they call holes, or calling them the hole, and they'll have a shower in the hole. So they'll show the public, look, we got a shower for it. But they don't tell you they control the water from the outside. So what they would do is they'd turn off the hot water and it'd be freezing water. And I didn't give a shit if my whatever, at least I could shower. But when they turned the cold water off and it was boiling water, you can't take a shower. You will burn yourself and scald yourself. So I've been in there where I didn't have a shower for weeks. And believe me, you have no idea how you smell. You can even smell yourself. You know, they always say, if you can smell yourself, it's real bad. And that's more common than you think. So they're using the hole as a way of not just disciplinary to punish you, to put it undo. To let everybody know, I was in the hole for 3 years, 11 straight months in the hole for fighting the abuses and deaths of friends legally. They told me to, they put me in the hole. It's all in my book. You know that if you read it. I was strapped down naked, beaten, and tortured. And a guard pissed on my face. Wow, look at me, I'm getting goosebumps. And spit on me and kept saying, hey, keep writing Senator's Lawton, keep doing this. And it got to the point, I thought I was going to die. They were beating me every month, and they were trying to break me from. I'm very stubborn anyway, and I was really stubborn because they killed 3 of my friends. Literally, medical departments killed 3. One guy comes out of the hospital after having chest pains when his own guard that he worked for told him to go to medical, and they said he's got gas. He walks into the unit and says to my buddy Jimmy, he goes, I'm going to die. We put him in a chair. He keels over. He dies. And if you've never seen a person die, everything comes out of them, so that's why people say, oh, I was surrounded by smell. Your whole system obviously is whatever's in it comes out. And actually when they lifted him up, because they yelled us, lockdown, lockdown. So we go to the cell and they pick him up and they were laughing. My cell was actually near the door exit of the unit. And I'm watching them put him on a golf cart type, laughing. And on the floor where he keeled over, there's a friend of mine. You could see the stain on the floor where he things came out of him, was shit and piss and everything. And I got so mad at that. That's what they put me in a hole for. Originally, they came by to every cell and they said, "Oh, you saw him hit his head, right? Hit his fucking head. You killed him." I said, "You a little bit worse language. I mean, you killed that man as quick as somebody shot him." And I ended up getting out of the hole, and people got fired and everything, what they did to me and everything. And they had an investigation and all that. And one of the wardens came to me on the yard and says, because I was fighting other abuses, and they said, "Oh, he'll get paid." Is that the answer? Why don't you stop writing senators? They told me. I said, why don't you stop abusing people? And I mean abuse that people would look at. And if that's not the 8th Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment, there's nothing that could be cruel and unusual punishment. I'm not going to I love my country, but I get mad at us when we talk about human rights in fucking Saudi Arabia or whatever country it is. Because we have so many human rights going on right here in our own country. We got 2.3 million people, 2.3 million treated like animals. Even our jail system, you're supposed to be presumed innocent till proven guilty. Well, if you go to a county jail, you don't have the money to bail out. You're treated like an inmate. You're treated like a prisoner. You are shackled and freaking handcuffed and up against a wall and strip searched and everything that an inmate goes through. You are that, and you're still technically an innocent man. You can't take that back. You can't take that abuse back. You can't take that how you feel, the dignity and everything you lose when you go to prison. It's a shame. There's things to this day as a successful man. I look back and I could take my clothes off, stand up, lift my nuts, turn around, and not feel, that's wrong. Not feel bad about it, or not feel that, wow, this is not right, because I did it for so long. And, I think I lost that and I'll never get it back, but I was a guilty man. But they just did an article I read. There's 3,000 people in our system that are actual innocent, they call it. Think of that. How would you like to be in prison and you were set up, the police don't do the wrong right? I can get into all the reasons because I did the law for 10 years. And it said, besides those people, let's say the actual innocent 3,000 people, how the system is set up is if you don't tell or rat, they take a kid who did small drugs. They get another rat to say that he sold this much dope over 5 years and testify it. and they call that ghost dope. And then they'll sentence that kid to 20 years when he should have got 3 years and rehabilitated. But our system is broke. And obviously you guys know that, but I can get into that deeper and deeper and deeper. And we'd need 5 hours on this show. And I don't have that.
Yeah, no, there's so many issues that we talk about in our club. We're doing a whole discussion on wrongful conviction next week, which is, there's a lot
I
to
testify
get
for those. I testify on a lot of those for the Innocent Project and some Barry University. What they did was the Supreme Court passed the Miller case, which would made anybody under 18 who a juvenile sentenced to life, which we have. We're crazy. I know it's crazy. For life, they had to be resentenced unless because, and then they had to have extenuating circumstances why they get life. So the spirit of the law has been broken so many times already, and I testify and I got so mad. Here's guys who did the right thing. They become successful, got degrees, they're artists, haven't got any trouble, did stuff. They had a case that they were on, part of a robbery, and they didn't shoot anybody, but they got the life sentence. And then the judge comes back and says 50 years. That takes the spirit of the law away. I think the Supreme Court was trying to say, hey, are we going to try to give people a shot? Obviously, the United States is so hard. You take Germany, a life sentence, they don't have it's 20 years. And then they can go if they keep messing up or whatever they are, if they're deemed unsafe or whatever it is. But murder, I mean, and I'm not here to say that we should be easy on crime or we shouldn't do things. Yes, but every case has extenuating circumstances. Guy started murder. Was he abused? What happened the whole case? How much he was? What did he grow up? You can't tell me a person growing up in a beautiful neighborhood, mom's dad's doc, got everything and does whatever, to a kid who grows up, his dad's in jail, his mom's a prostitute, he hears gunshots out the door, he sees drug deals every day. There's two different kids. I don't care how you look at it. You can't say, oh, he got to learn to make the right choice. Wait a minute, with who? You're talking about growing up from a very early age in that, and that has to have impact on your decision. Yes, eventually we have to figure it out, help the young people change, but that comes to the rehabilitation part. And sadly, again, the United States is falling very, very behind. We have the worst prison system in the free world. And I'm not talking third world country where you hear something in Ethiopia or wherever it is, they put you on the ground or something. I'm talking France, Germany, UK, Canada, Italy. These countries have humane systems. Obviously, there's a little things different, but when you compare it to the United States, even China, people say, oh, well, China, they cut their hands off. That's not true. They have a shame thing in China. They have a higher suicide rate of people who commit crimes because they disrespected and dishonored their family. So it don't come off like, oh, we have this system. We have a very bad system. And there's fixes from why do we have private prisons? That's crazy. How do you make profit off people's misery? But that's more questions for you.
Yeah, I mean, private prisons, that's a whole could go on and on
Well,
about that.
I get asked, Fiona, I get asked on all shows, what's the first thing or only the first thing you could do in a prison system to fix our prison system if you had the power? First thing I would do is get rid of private prisons. There's no way we should have money as an object to people to make it. People say, oh, it's not that, you had to pay it anyway. Yes, but if you have to go to a meeting and say, wow, our profit's not high enough because we don't have enough prisoners or we're starting to let them out, the system's getting smaller, doesn't work. They're not going to do that. They're a profit generated company. So all of a sudden, they don't do rehabilitation enough. They cut costs themselves. They have less guards, food. I've heard so many stories of private prisons and people don't get fed right. They'll feed you for 80 cents a day, some crazy numbers. And it's just, it's one of the worst things. And not even the money part of it. No society, after putting people in a system, should not correct them themselves. We, the people, if we're going to incarcerate somebody, should have the responsibility of that person. And that we, the people, is the government.
Yeah. I mean, obviously in a penitentiary like Atlanta and these medium and maximum security prisons, there's a lot that happens. There's a lot of trauma, I can imagine. Was there anything that the prison or the government did for you to help with trauma or help,
Zero. In fact, they caused it, a lot of it. Of course, I have PTSD. I see psychiatrists that still do. There's no question. I've seen some crazy stuff that I have dreams about, and literally scream or have such a reaction that it scares myself. So there's no question it's PTSD, and most people would. I'll give you a number of why the system is so fucked up. The average person, you and I today, we're going to make 1,500 choices. What you're going to wear, what you're going to put in coffee, how many cups of coffee, what you're going to go to class with this person, that, call them up, you're going to go this route. The average inmate makes 100 choices. That's why every prisoner, I don't care who he is, and I every time someone got out, I told them what was going to happen, and it's happened. And we talked about it and laughed. That's why certain people got out. I actually went and got them because there's no question they were institutionalized. I have a high IQ, read books, got the paper, did a lot of things, and I was totally institutionalized. I couldn't buy a cup of coffee. I could not buy a cup of coffee when I got out. If it wasn't for my cousin, who's a psychologist and a life coach, who saved my life when I was on the bus going from Forest City, Arkansas to Tampa, I probably would have hurt somebody to go back. And because I was so institutionalized. I was online. Quick story, the bus, I get out of prison, I got money in my pocket, everything, and you're excited. I didn't want people to pick me up. I'm from Florida. I wanted to take a bus because I've been on buses so much. I was in handcuffs and shackles and the Con Air and all that. And I wanted to be on a bus free. So I get on the bus and there's a young lady sitting next to me. And I'm like, first of all, you haven't had a lady, but believe it or not, anybody who's been to prison for any amount of time, you ask them what they miss most. And it's not women, it's food. It's real food. Anyone will tell you that. Not, I'm sure women are second or whatever it is. But so at this point, Fiona, I get on the bus and the girl, I'll never forget, she has a Razor flip phone in her hand, Razor flip phone. This is 2007. And I went to prison and I had a thing over my shoulder and I had a brick, the gray, you're too young and most people are. And it's a Motorola brick phone. I could beat someone and make a phone call. I should have did a commercial on that. So I get on the bus, I have money in my pocket because I had money. And that's a whole story about that. And I get on the bus and here I am, I sit next to this girl and I'm doing stuff like this. I'm free. I'm like, I'm looking at cars. I used to think a Chrysler 300 was a Rolls Royce because it had the front. I mean, that's, you're so, because you don't see things. So I get on there and obviously the next stop she gets up, I had my own seat for the rest of the trip. So I guess that's one way to get your own seat on a bus. Well, the bus driver announces on the bus, he says, we got 40 minutes. You can go get something, eat it. We're going to stop in and get gas. I'm thinking, get gas? Fucking, what am I going to eat? Because when I went to prison, you got cigarettes, you got beer, you got candy bars at a gas station. No, we pull in and there's a Subway, there's a Food Mart, and I go, holy shit. So I go in and I wanted a Subway sandwich. I remember the guy, Jared. Now he's in jail and he deserves it, of course. So I go into the place and I get online and I got money and I look up and I froze, Fiona. I froze. I could not make a choice. There's too many choices. I never had to make a choice for the last 11 years. I got people looking at me. I'm feeling it. Now my defense modes are coming up. You want to hit some. I literally got off that line, did not order, and went on the bus and I cried in the back of that bus. And at the next stop, I got off and I really thought I was in a snap. And I called my cousin and she saved my life. Told me, just go back there. Don't worry about your food. Don't worry, you'll survive. I did not feel comfortable again, Fiona, until I got into the halfway house when I was locked up. So I was totally institutionalized, and most people are. And everybody thinks, oh, give him a house, give him a job, give him this shit. And no, it's here. It's here. And there's ways we can help that as well. But again, more shows.
Yeah. We definitely discuss a lot about like mental health in prison, and we got a lot of audience questions when we polled on our social media talking about like what was psychiatric care like, and did anyone have access to therapists? Was that a thing?
They have psychiatrists in there, but usually they're so inundated though. You'll go. It's not like, oh, you can go see once a week and that'd be great and all this shit. No, they'll have one. They'll give a person Thorazine or some tranquilizers that they have to take at the pill line, they call it. No, there's really no pronounced psychological care in prison. They'll do enough to say, oh, we're giving him cash. So when he kills somebody, oh, we're trying to help him. It's all bullshit. Like we call it bullshit. Just like pre-release. It's the biggest bullshit fucking thing they tell the public. Oh, we got pre-release classes. I went through it. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. They make you sit in a room and tell you got to get a bank account, a driver's license, you do this. They don't understand the psychological. They don't do the psychological. And our prison systems, sadly, are become mental facilities. They're mental wards. There's people in prison. You know, it's so sad when you got me thinking back, Fiona. I watch people in the hole that are so bad, they'll take the feces, their own feces, and draw demonic stuff on walls. Who does that? You are gone. You are gone. You're taking feces out of yourself and writing and doing and throwing it in the hall. I saw things that made me say, wow. I mean, and you start going crazy. I was in the hole so long, I started going crazy. You do. I contemplated suicide. A friend of mine killed himself next to me. Listen, anytime you're in a hole that long, and anytime, you are going crazy. We are social animals. You know, we try everything to do it. We tried everything. I used to design houses in my head, and even from where the electrical outlet would be, to try to keep myself. And I ended up, I think, and I'm sure I'm still fucked up, but somewhat normal, by doing legal work. I got the credits to be a lawyer. I was one of so many people, and then actually I am a licensed paralegal, not a lawyer lover, so I hope there's no lawyers here. So I did a lot of legal work, and I fought the system. You know, that's how I think I kept sane, and they tried everything to stop me. And if my dad since passed, but he saved my life many times by visiting and doing things and writing it. You know, I try to tell people, if you know someone incarcerated, you should, if you have a young person who's incarcerated, a friend or a relative, go to the post office, buy a couple of books of stamps, go buy a box of envelopes, and put a stamp on every envelope. And I don't care if you send them a piece of paper that says, yeah, just thinking about you, love you, hope you're going to survive. Or something about yourself, just got married, wish you were there, got fucked up, hope you're doing well. I don't care if it's 5 lines or a whole letter. I had to tell people when I got out, even family members, oh, I didn't have much to write about, because when I did get letters from him, it was 5 pages. Great. But my dad knew it, because I used to visit he would write every 2-3 times a week. And I would get that mail at mail. One of the saddest things I've ever seen in prison, there was an older guy, and he was an older drug guy, and not a murderer, not a rapist, nothing like that. He used to come down to mail call every day. And I was in the prison for 2 years with him, and he never, ever fucking got a letter or anything. And it was a sad, sad thing. And I'd see him walk back up to his cell, go in there and read or whatever he was. He's in his 70s maybe. And you think about that and you say, that's total loneliness. What we do to people is just, it's barbaric. They always say, there's a great line, a country should be judged on how it handles its elderly, it's infirmed, and it's incarcerated. Sadly, this country is failing miserably on those things. And I think there has to be a reality check, meaning there has to be a reality check on all that, Fiona. And, I said I'd volunteer for this because you guys are, I believe, the future. I talk about young people all the time on my channel, and I have a very big young following. And it's because I am, as they say in the stock market, I'm bullish, meaning positive, on young people, because there's people like you out there in your organization, and there's a lot of young people, they'll tell me, Larry, you saved my life, you just opened my eyes, you did this or whatever. And I'm bullish because more and more people want to understand it. And until we understand it, and let me give you one more about that. You never hear a politician ever in the last 20 years talk about, let's build more prisons. Here's why. We have so many people incarcerated in the United States. They did a study that every inmate equates to 4 votes, meaning this. Larry was in prison, but I have an extended family, brothers, sisters, friends. So I might equate to 20 votes, 25, 30, whatever. But then you have somebody who's an illegal entry, illegal alien or something of this nature, and they got no votes. But they did a study for 4 votes per inmate. Well, we have 2.3 million people incarcerated. That's 9 million votes. 9.2 million votes. That sways any election. That's why they're not coming, we got to hit crime. Because the people who have people incarcerated know the real deal. And it's organizations like yours that are out there and still putting the word out. The freer people who haven't been incarcerated, but they want to know more about it. And whatever reason your people are in your organization, could be a brother, it could be an uncle, an aunt, mom, dad, somebody who went through the system. You know, I'm not talking anything that's like a shocking, because people who've been there know it. And a lot of more people are knowing it. And that's why you're not hearing politicians say, oh, it'd be on crime. No, because you keep building prisons. It's the biggest waste of money in the world, and it's the biggest farce. And believe it or not, we're looking really bad around the world as a superpower supposed to be. You know, we talk about human rights everywhere, and it blows me. I get so mad. Don't talk about human rights. You live in a glass house. Don't throw stones. And yes, there's human rights everywhere. We know that with the women and everything, because I'm very big on, I hate to say liberal. Yes, I'm very, very open to everything from, you know, if you listen to me on my channel and everything from race to sex, then live your life. Who gives a fuck? Who should be judging anybody? But we as a society are really failing. But my hope, and the reason I actually started and am doing what I'm doing and building what I'm doing, one of the fastest growing channels on YouTube, was I want to build that platform where we can really make a difference. And here I look at this like you guys, young people. You know, you vote a guy in office, and you should have something he has to do within those 2 years if he's a congressman. He has to put up legislation for fixing the prison. I don't give a fuck. Oh, don't get in there and have each party leader tell you don't do it, we don't got the vote. Put it in. Show me that you're doing something and see who votes against it. Put it in. If you don't, out. They're in there 10 years and they ain't put shit in. Out. You guys control that. The young, 2 people. Listen, marijuana. Why isn't that legal federally? I have no idea. Whatever party does that's going to freaking win. Because all the young people, I smoke marijuana. I have medical marijuana, but whatever. Not matter. Fucking who gives a shit about drugs?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not talking about kids. I'm not talking about doing something. Who gives a shit what you do in your own house? It blows me away why we're, and I'm so happy for young people like you guys for being in and getting involved in whatever project you want, because you guys are the ones changing the world. Listen, I'm 60 years old, I'm dead in 20 years. It's not being morbid. You guys will be in power in 20 years. Every one of you, in one way or another, whether it's business, whether it's socially, or whether it's political. These are the young people I'm trying to sway, and I have a very big audience, young. And I even have a Discord. I have a Discord with 14,000 or 12, whatever it is, rabid fans. And I'll go on there and we'll talk about it. And I love political views, and we have them, but we shouldn't be fighting against each other. You can have your view, I can have my view. We shouldn't hate each other for it. We can try to come to common ground. But I'm seeing more and more young people like you, Fiona, and your group that are caring. And young to me can be 40, but they are caring, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head with starting a YouTube channel, because that is truly where you will find all the young people. You know, we grew up in that era.
You tell me one person over 50 who's got cable TV. They don't. I only have cable TV, and I'm 60 because I take care of my 89-year-old mom. That's where I do it. I'm here. I built a studio. I built a studio in my office. I built this whole studio just so I could take care of my mom. And, you know, because she took care of me my whole life. So, but it's you guys who don't have cable. Every one of you. I'll bet you don't have cable.
No.
Cable. What's cable, right? But you have YouTube, and YouTube is by far the biggest platform by combined. You could take Facebook and Instagram, and YouTube's bigger, because even my age uses YouTube to fix something. You want to fix glasses, go on YouTube. How do you do it? You know, everybody, you want to do something in your car, you want to learn something. I don't care, build a bomb. Don't build a bomb. I didn't say that, YouTube. I didn't say that, world. My point to you is you can do anything you want on YouTube. And that's the big thing, actually. And I think that's important. So I went to where the platform was, luckily. I mean, I didn't even know it, but luckily. But once I recognized it, Fiona, that's my mission now. People said, when are you going to retire? When are you going to do? And I'm not yet ready. I love what I do. I like to help people. And when I get to that level where we can really put a congressman out of the office or senator out of office or whoever the hell it is, that's what I want to do. And you guys that want to really are the ones that are doing it. I could be the vessel. I could be a mentor. I can do things with things. But my age group is pretty hard-headed fucks. You guys are a lot better. Like your parents' ages are. Some of them are good, but let's face it, they get stuck in their things, and that's normal. It's natural. So I don't get mad at anybody. But I do love speaking in front of young people. And I go to many schools and colleges. And even whenever they tell me what I can and can't talk about, I don't go. Because I don't believe in that. I don't. You know who I am. You know my platform. You know how I'm going to be. So you try to restrict me, that ain't happen. I just won't go.
Yeah. I'm going to do one more question, and then I'm going to open it up to our audience.
Did I mess your questions up?
No. No, I love this conversation. This is awesome. Okay. From your perspective, what do you think are some of the ways that a small student coalition like us can make real change? And what would you say is important?
I kind of hit on that in that last one. You guys are in Massachusetts. I don't know if you all know who your congressman is. You should. And that man should have marching orders. I don't give a shit how long he's been in office. Change does take time. We know that. It's not going to happen tomorrow. But if you went through one or two congressmen, and you got to set out, don't say, we want to hear it, because they say the bullshit and never do it. You got to have a contract, I call it, or whatever it is, with that person. And your organization can be strong, because it could be small, but it has wings, I call it. You have friends, they have friends, this is friends. Social media obviously is where it's at. And you have to literally say what your issue is, what could in an area. And if that issue is not addressed by that man in his first 2 years in office, I don't want to hear, well, I'm getting my feet wet. No, you're not. You need to put in legislation. I don't want to hear about what you're thinking of doing. I don't give a shit if you get nobody to co-sign. I don't care what you do. I want to get it and you push it. But we've got so polarized where the leader says, I ain't gonna get the votes, don't put it in. You got to do this, go fundraise, do that. Bullshit. Put a legislation so we can start knowing who don't want something, whether it's legalizing pot, whether it's jail reform, whether it's the criminal system reform, whether it's law reform on drug laws or whatever it is. You and little organizations are the ones that got to go to them, put the stuff up with social media. You guys will get the support online. You will get it stuff on my channel. I put something on. When I put up a survey on my channel in a community, I get 40, 50,000 people sometimes that respond to that. And that is numbers that people get scared about. So you locally can get an issue in whatever it is. And you got to think it out. You don't just say, I often talk to young people about why it's important to know who your local people is. When you want to, if people kept getting killed at a stop sign up here, well, it needs a stoplight. Who do you go to that? You go to your local politician and say, listen, we need a stoplight here. People got killed. If you don't want to do it, we're going to get someone in office who's going to do it. And you get the stoplight. I've seen it happen. That's how politics should work. And what has happened is we just let the next guy do it. Oh, he says a few things. He's a good speaker. He says bullshit. And all of a sudden, oh, okay. Then you bitch when he's in office and nothing's done. Well, you got to hold his feet to the fire with something concrete, especially with social media. If you put up some kind of petition, you send it to his office, you put it delivered where they got a sign for it and everything else. And you even go to his office, you have people, and you get him to make a public comment on a video saying he's going to do this. When he don't, and they're not, most of them out. It'll probably take you 4 years, two cycles before the next one says, fuck, I don't give a shit what they say. I need to be reelected. And our problem is we're not holding the people to fire. How do you have people in there for 70, 40 years, 30 years that don't do shit? They do smart. You know what they're doing? They listen to the people who give them money, but that's not all the voters. See, they listen to people who bring pork back to their communities, which I understand. And that's obviously I would do the same thing. Listen, I live in a community. I'm a congressman. I want money for my for the Indian River where we have here. It's polluting. We want money for that. I'm going to bring that back. That's what I'm supposed to do. But if I had a bunch of young people with more power, more voting rights, and more able to mobilize, I would say, wait a minute, that's not as important as this issue, because I just got 50,000 signatures or 50,000 people that saw this online. And if I don't do this, the last guy didn't do it, he's out. Now I got to think, what's more important? Do I got to get that money here? Or do I got to help these young people fix an issue that's it? And that Indian River might be the issue, obviously, and that's okay. But you, as the young people, and that's why I am positive for young people, because once you dive in, you guys, listen, you email me to get me to come, and I love that. I usually wait a few times until people email me, and then I say, okay, they care. They really want it, they care. And I didn't charge you, you know that. I says, I do a lot of that because I want people to get involved. You are involved, but now with some of the questions and some of the ideas you can bang around, I think that's even more important.
Yeah, I love that. That's really great advice. Yeah, we try and be as loud as we possibly can.
Absolutely. You know, they always say the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yep, absolutely. I'm gonna give the chat a moment to, if anyone in the audience would like to pop a question in the chat, you're more than welcome to. We do have some audience questions that we collected on our socials, so I'm gonna pull from that. I have a question coming in from Mike Kelly. He says, hey Larry, I've been watching your channel for a while now and love all you do. My question is, are you still friends with anyone that you used to do jobs with? And if so, are they free from prison as well?
Well, if you watch my channel, my brother's out. Obviously, he knows that. One of the other guys passed away from cancer. Now, as far as the mob guys, the closest one I was with is dead. One is alive at 90 something. A couple other my bosses died. So not many. I was actually, when I got out, you know, I had people talk to me and say, oh, you know, you never ratted, you want to get back into this. Funny story. I even have a shirt on it. He says, one guy says to me, Larry, we can do a $5 million robbery and all this. I said, listen to me. Here's what'll happen. If I do a robbery, I'm going to kill you both. Hey, look. And I says, listen, 3 can keep a secret if 2 are dead. I says, listen, don't ever come to me with this shit. I know what that side is. I'm doing the right thing. And I tell young people who get out, you don't impress me when everything's going right and you're doing good when you get out. You impress me when things go wrong, because everything goes wrong. Everybody's life has challenges and ups and downs. When you are stressed or when things are going bad, you still do the right thing, meaning not crime is what I meant. And that's when you test someone. I remember myself, you know, in the beginning of building this company, building the reality check program, the very, very lean times. And you have to keep that focus. And always I try to tell them, listen, whatever it gets bad, think of how bad it really can get. Because I can get up and get a glass of milk. In prison, you can't get up and glass of milk. So think of the worst, and you can't compare it to prison. I don't care if it's homelessness. Can't compare it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it looks like I have a question in the chat. This person asks, what was the process of getting your degree while in prison?
Very good. Sadly, again, the prison system stopped that. They stopped what they call Pell Grants and stuff like that. I'm lucky that I had a cousin. My dad used to get me the correspondence courses and everything else and do it. And you do that. And then they bring a proctor into the prison, into the legal system, and they will proctor the exams. And then you will get your degree and stuff. I have it on the wall, matter of fact. You know, I do have my degree on my wall. Yeah, I do. And my badge and everything else. But so I do understand it's hard. And if I did not have the funds myself, I don't know if I could have did it. And the people that supported me, I fell into something that I love to do in there, and I was helping people. And that made me keep going. Listen, there's so much of that bullshit law that I forgot already, which is, you know, it's probate or this shit I don't give a shit about. Now, criminal law can do a lot about. Policies and procedures of prisons and how it works from the Department of Justice to the Bureau of Prisons and how they set policy for Congress and all that. So I like that part of it and I stuck with it. So that's how I did it. But luckily I had people, because sadly they don't want to give degrees out. They don't want to do things. But I did it on my own.
Yeah, I'm sure you have to work 3 times as hard. you know.
Well, we had time. Let's put it that way. We
Yeah,
didn't have a life.
that's true.
We weren't going to go out. And I do want people to understand they have to have a life. All you guys, you should go out, get hammered, take an Uber. But do whatever you're going to do. Meet people, social, because you're going to find socialization is the one way you're going to meet people who are like-minded, or people you could change minds, and you're gonna get more power with that. People who think I could just study and do everything great, they're missing the boat. Life is not like that. That's why I'm not a believer in homeschooling. I'm a believer in socializing. You meet different people from different walks of life, different races and everything else, and different problems, and you have to handle them. So, especially even college more so. College should be part of the party aspect of it, obviously responsibly and everything else. But it has to be that way because that's where you really get your knowledge and your connections and everything else in life.
Yeah.
So go out after this and get hammered.
On a Monday.
Hey, listen. Hey, I'm sure it's 5:00 Friday somewhere.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Another question in the chat. This one says, how did you get through solitary confinement?
Ooh. When you say get through, I don't know if I so much as got through it or survived it. I watched a lot of people not get through it, not only come out fucked up, more mental than they were, suicides and stuff of that nature, and really lose it. I think I got through it by fighting. I was a very stubborn man who I used to write briefs with little pencils that were like golf course pencils, because that's what they'd give you. And I kept fighting. As much as I got beaten and everything else, it got me harder. It got me, I always believe in this. I think everything that's tough on you or everything you survive is a lesson to learn. And you can educate somebody else about that. I couldn't do what I do today if I didn't go through that, because how can I tell somebody what it's like? I was abused as a child, and I look at that as a strength. Of course, it's traumatizing. Yes, it is. But now I can tell how to survive it, how to get through it, it's not your fault, and everything that goes along with that. So I believe everything that happens to us, everything, is a learning lesson. I often tell young people, listen to me. Older people aren't smarter than you. There's no way I know as much as you young people about whatever you're learning, but I have more experience than you in certain things. And listen to the experience. Take what I give you, put it in here, filter what you don't want, keep what you want, throw out whatever you don't want. And then you make your own decisions, but use experience. I do this to this day as a 60-year-old man. I'm going after this. I'm meeting some older people. I have a very big deal going. Well, these people are even older than me, and they've been through it. They've been through the big business thing I'm doing. So I'm going to hear them out and listen. Will everything work? No. Will everything be what I want? No. I'm not going to go exactly what this, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to pick up one or two things. So experience is the number one thing you can do in life, and use that experience. Obviously, that's what I'm giving you guys, is experience of a place you don't want to go. I tell young people, listen to me again, you don't want to go to a place I was at. Learn from me, hear the story. Then obviously that bull, you can hear them. They've been in lawsuits and everything. And how they replied, oh, we don't, that just happened. We didn't have enough guards on it. Things happen that are sad, man. And I don't want you, Fiona, or any of your program people or people out there to go through what I went through to get where I am. Use my experience and get there anyway. That's what I hope for.
Yeah, that's great advice. And we're all, doing our best to.
Well, I hope all of you guys, the one guy, Mike, said he follows me on YouTube. I hope all of them follow me on YouTube. But the guy did the question did. So that was good. So he knows how I am.
That's how I discovered you long ago.
He knows how I am too, then, and you know how I am. I tell it like it is. You know, I wouldn't give a shit if you like the answers or not. That's just the way I roll. And I know my answers aren't for everybody. But you can't worry about everybody. You have to be real, tell it like it is, and hope the people take what the positives are out of it. I know I can be rough. I can have bad language. I can do certain things, just who I am. And I can't just change and be, I'm not Father John up here or some shit. I'm Larry Lawton, so it's a little bit different.
All right, I think we have time for one more question.
Yeah, yeah.
How were your personal relationships impacted by going to prison, and are they mended now, like with family, friends, etc.?
Very good question. And here's the answer, because I have a very good relationship. My son works for me. Now you got to remember, I went to prison when my daughter was 15 months old. I got out, she was 13. My son was 7. I got out and he was 18 years old. I've missed their life, but I'm very, very close with my children because I did the right thing when I was in there. I used to write them every day. I used to give schoolwork to my daughter. She talks about it. She's 26 now. She talks about it. Oh, my dad used to send me this 1 + 1 blank. I had to go back, A, B, C, blank, E, F, G, do all that. And she talks about it today. And I'm very close with my children, very close with family members, because I was who I was. I wasn't a good guy. And that's the first I try to tell people, but everybody has their dark sides, if you want to call it that. So they didn't judge me. And I'm sure there are people who do, and they have to deal with it. I'm not going to worry about that. You can't please everybody, but the people around me, I am very lucky, stood by me, supported me. And it had anything to do with money. It had everything to do with support, with letters. And so, you can change, you can do the right things. And I think that's what really helped me as well. But, as far as relationships with mom, I take care of my mom. I was very close to my dad. My brothers and sisters, we're very close. I lost 2 sisters to cancer since, but we were all a very close family, and friends too. I always surrounded myself with positive people too. I can't stand negative people. Negative people won't be around me. I can't be around them even to this day, because it's just a waste. It is. So, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
So I think
that's so amazing that you guys have such a close relationship.
my daughter, quick little story. My daughter, she was 14 or 15, I think 15. So she was living with me to help. She was being a little rough. Mom, we're good friends. Even my exes were good friends. So she comes to live with me, and I am who I am, and she had a phone that I paid for. So she's sitting in a chair, and Dad reaches over, grabs the phone. Holy shit. I look at her phone and I see tit pictures. Okay, everybody does it today. Forget it, whatever. I'm not gonna worry about it. But she's 15, it's my daughter. So I'm like, go to your room. And I close her phone, I look through it, whatever. And I bring her out, and obviously understanding what I do, it's punishments have to be, in line with things. And I say to her, Ashley, and I tell her about how I was. I said, when I was your age and I had sex with a girl or whatever it was, my friends knew tits or this, and they knew everything. It wasn't, do you think the boy you sent this picture to is not going to show all his friends? My daughter happened to be well endowed at a very young age. And I said, now, do you want to be the slut of the school or the one that's hard to get? Do you want to be the one that, they want it, but look, oh, wow, but I humiliate that. So I knew it worked when 6 months later, she says to me, she got punished for a few days, lost the phone. It's not the end of the world. These parents who say you're grounded for a year, they're so whacked out. You're not, never going to be grounded for a year. So I said, she comes up to my daughter, she says, Daddy, she still calls me Daddy. She was, Daddy, can you do me a favor and talk to my friend? Because she did something I did, and I tried to tell her, but I couldn't explain it. I knew the parents though. And I said, yes, but I called the parents, and they said, Larry, you can do anything you want. They knew what I did. So yeah, talk to whatever you want. And I said, okay. And I talked to her, and what it really showed me was it got through to my daughter. That she listened and understood it. And now she's 26. She probably has the biggest nude problem. No, I'm sure they all do. Everybody. Listen, everybody does. No, yeah, we are. Obviously, it is the way of the world. Obviously, you're all 22, 25, I'm sure, whatever ages you are. Oh.
Yeah,
and,
we're all 20, 22-ish.
Yeah, you're all over 18, and you're gonna learn from ways and do things, and you can enjoy life. But enjoy life. Don't let so many things bother you. Live your life, but have that mission. And I think that's great what you all do. And I want to congratulate everybody on here. Keep doing it.
Thank you. We truly appreciate it, and thank you for joining us. You've been a wonderful guest.
Well, I appreciate it. I do gotta go. I was telling you, because I got another function to go 9:15. Otherwise, I would be here longer. You'll see me on Discord sometime. If you're a member, just say, hey, Larry, I remember your speak in Northeastern, right? Northeastern University.
Yeah.
So, and keep it. Thank you, Fiona, for being very organized. That helps me a lot. Sending everything, make us do a whole bunch of stuff. And you're very organized. So I want to thank you for that. And your whole organization should thank you for that.
Oh, I truly, truly appreciate it. Well, thank you to you and all of our guests for coming out. Yeah, everyone have a great night.
Yes, have a great night, everybody. Stay safe, make good choices. All right. Take care.